We are rolling.
Well, I guess, beyond what happened with the word redistricting, what prompted you to run and throw your hat in the ring?
Well, first of all, the ward redistricting was not the ultimate reason that I ran for mayor. But it's unfortunate in what I saw with the redistricting, that alderman and the mayor, because they were all the same, it was his remap. Alderman did not see the remap until the time that they voted on it, minutes before they voted on it, and then they looked at where their wards were after they voted on it. It just shows that they were more concerned with their own pensions, their own pocketbooks, rather than the people that they represent. I'm running for mayor because I love this city. I was born in this city. I grew up in this city. It gave me my values, who I am. My first job was bussing tables at a restaurant and then washing trucks. I went to schools. I'm a product of its schools, its parks, and I just love this city. And I considered running 4 years ago, and I had a serious bout with tonsil cancer, a very rare one. And I'm a cancer survivor now. But a lot of the things that I heard then have been amplified tenfold under 4 years of this administration. Wherever I go, people say, we need somebody who's going to fight for us, somebody who will lead us, somebody who will represent us. And at the same time, when they say that, they say, you're the person. You've stood up in our city council for the right reasons, and we want you to be mayor. And I consider those encouragements along the way, I'll call it. And each and every one of them had a valid concern. So when I took it into effect, into play of a consideration in what we were doing, I said, maybe it's time to go again. And as we put together a different type of team of people in every neighborhood, in every community. And I looked at what this mayor has done, and he's failed us on most of the most important issues, on crime, economic development, our educational system that's in disarray, and all of that is what has led me to a decision to run for mayor of our city.
Going back to your time on city council, how do you think that's going to influence how you would govern as mayor? You're part of the Progressive Caucus, and you butted heads with the mayor and other council members. Yeah, so how's that going to influence how you would govern as mayor?
Well, I think I want to see a very proactive city council, not a city council where you hit their heads and they say, yes, Mr. Mayor. One that's in their neighborhoods, one that represents neighborhoods. I am very concerned about what has happened with the city council, but the quality of what's happened in our neighborhoods, that people have presided over their neighborhoods for so many years, and they've just gone downhill. They've never raised a peep about some of the infrastructure issues. They've never raised an issue about how the banks have really taken advantage of our communities and led to all the foreclosures, about the growing income inequality that has happened in our neighborhoods. It's time that we have a very progressive, responsible type of city council who represents our neighborhoods.
To get into a few issues, first would be finances. And were you to win, you'd be contending with what's possibly one of the city's greatest financial challenges when, a few years from now, the mandated contributions to the firefighters and police funds jump. And what steps would the mayor need to take to protect the city's balance sheet?
Well, I think first of all, we need to have a very comprehensive audit. 2 or 3 of us who sit in the city council have been calling for that. We need to look at what type of contracts that we have and how money is being going out to the wrong sources here. How we may have to pull things back in and do a lot of items in-house. I think we need to find new sources of revenue, dedicated sources of revenue. I've talked about a commuter tax, the LaSalle Street financial transaction tax. And there are ways that we can balance this budget and bring it in line and pay for the commitments that we made to our firefighters and our police without stripping their benefits and stripping their pension that we had promised them.
How would a commuter tax work? They've tried to, the idea has come up in the past and hasn't seemed to go far. What are your ideas about how that should go?
Well, I think a small tax on those that are commuters that live in suburbs, wherever that suburbs may be, whether it's from Evanston to Gary, Indiana, to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and everything in between. There's about 660,000 people that work in the city that live elsewhere, do not live in the city. And a 1% tax, which they can take off from their own federal tax, income tax, would probably generate about $350 million. And those, a little bit over that. Collectively, those people that work here and live elsewhere make about $30 billion a year. And when they come to the city, what do they want? They want safe streets. They want clean streets. If they have a medical emergency, they want immediate attention and help. It's a small ask of people who come here, benefit from the economic structure, but spend their money elsewhere.
We spoke with Amara Enya before she dropped out of the race, and she has endorsed you. And one of her ideas was a public bank. Is that an idea that you've ever entertained?
I'm looking at that. I know we can model it after some of the other state that does have that. We should take a look at that on what we need to do. And we need to then invest in our monies into our community. I'm very concerned with some of the structures that we have set up here and how we play off our municipal deposits anyway. They're enormous. I mean, we have over $1 billion in our TIF program right now that can fund any type of a banking structure. And then we have to use it to micro-target our neighborhoods and help our neighborhoods reinvest in them and have them grow.
Are you able to speak about any kinds of service cuts?
Well, I've looked at what we've done. I'm always in favor of streamlining, and I've talked about streamlining our city government from day one since I've been in there. There are areas that we can still keep doing that. We have to take a look at that. I know we have created pockets of patronage, whether they're up at the airports, otherwise. There are ways that we can deal with this, and where we can do it, again, a comprehensive overall audit will reveal that.
Speak a little bit about your position on minimum wage. Was the increase that just went through, is that going to be enough for the citizens of Chicago?
Well, I've been in the fight for 15 since it came around. I've been a strong proponent of $15 an hour, especially companies that are making over $50 million in revenue. When we take a look at Yum Candies, $1 billion in revenue, McDonald's, $1 billion in revenue, in profits. I said revenue, I meant profits. Walmart, $4 billion in profits, and they can't pay a sustainable living wage for their employees. Something's wrong. They're more concerned with profits than the people that they have. And who ends up paying for it? If they take away the medical benefits, if they allow some of their employees to go off onto go for food stamps, issues like that. If they can't pay for health care benefits, even though as we look at this whole Affordable Care Act is going to change the landscape this coming year, but who ended up paying for their medical benefits? We, the taxpayers. They would have to go to county or otherwise. It's incumbent upon us as government to help forge the right kind of quality of life for all of our citizens where they live, and even dealing with the amount of minimum wage that should be paid here in this city.
Along those same lines, what can a mayor what do you think a mayor can do to help stimulate job growth in the city?
Well, I think there's a tremendous amount of areas that we could do, especially when we the city, give tax breaks, we give TIF funds, we give zoning changes. All of those should require community benefit agreements and how we go about it. I've been a proponent. When Rush Hospital came, and it was even before I was sworn in and after I was elected in '07, about creating the new Rush Hospital. There was a lot of community opposition to it. The alderman I replaced and the alderman of the 27th Ward, who still there, was against the Rush Hospital. But I said we should have jobs and economic growth and what it means. We had 500 jobs for our community we created. People went to 6-week training at Dawson, and then they were employed by Rush at a livable wage. I mean, when I brought in Target, when we brought in Costco, all of the groups, Pete's, all of them had local hiring requirements. I think that's what we need to push. I was recently, at the end of August, in a restaurant where there were 7 individuals all working on a TIF project, one that we, the people, the taxpayers of the city, helped subsidize. And all 7 of them said they couldn't sign the petition because all 7 of them lived in Indiana. And yet they were working on building a project that was subsidized by the citizens of the city of Chicago. We can turn around, we can train people and put them to work on those projects.
What are your thoughts on income disparities in Chicago?
Until we realize that the problems of crime, the problems in our school are poverty, then we're lost. We need to recognize that is the major concern. 18,000 minimum homeless kids in our system. Poverty ranks #1. So we have to redirect and find resources that we can have right kind of wraparound services. At the same time, right kind of health services for our kids in our schools, making sure that they have proper meals, and at the same time, making sure that we have good after-school programs, whether they're learning, library, sports, all those are necessary. I found that to be really true in 2008 when Reuben Ivy was killed. He was a young man at Crane High School. Now we created, shortly thereafter, there was a big drop-off of attendance. It went down into the 30% the following week after his death. And what we did was, we got parents, we got the police, we got pastors, everyone together. I personally knocked on 162 doors and talked to parents and tell them we need your kid back in school. And what I saw then was people want to do the right thing, but they don't know how to do the right thing. And when we created Operation Safe Passage, it was people that did it for passion of their children, not for their own pocketbooks, that I see so often out there now. And there are a lot of different ways that we can address the issues, and those are some of them that I just talked about.
Now, you said that you support the idea of an elected school board, correct? Can you speak a little bit about why you think that's important?
Well, I think we need a school board that doesn't represent the limited economic interests of our mayor, but we need a school board that reflects the diversity of this city. And I'm looking at it very closely. I have been in a couple of meetings recently. I've been listening to the concerns of parents, of educators, of community leaders, and just regular citizens on making sure that we have a comprehensive, diverse elected school board. I say this because I've been in favor of it from day one when I first took office in '07. I thought it was important. that we get behind it. I didn't have to worry about, and I'm not worried about the flow of money into it, of an election, because I think if we do it the right way, that people understand. I'm not concerned that, as people have said, on one hand, the special flow of money that's going to go in it, and the teachers union would control it. Well, if that was true, that some of these unions would control the city council. And we see it that that's not true. We need one. It'll be good for our city. We're the only school board in the state that doesn't have one. And so we'll put together the right kind of measures to make it a model for the country of how we have an elected school board.
What were your thoughts on President Obama's executive order on immigration?
Well, I hope, I'm glad that he did it, and I hope we overcome any legal challenges here. It's an important first step, and we have done a lot of things here in the state of Illinois and in the city to move towards that. So hopefully, and I say it with some hesitancy because the forces against it have already filed a lawsuit and other lawsuits. So we're going to have to see what we need as this comes about. And I hope they get resolved shortly on these challenges, the legal challenges, because the impact on where we go as a country. My dad came here from Italy. He was 7 years old. It was at a time when we embraced immigration. And we made sure people had, and why did he and his family came here? Because Chicago was a city of hope, a city of opportunity. We should be embracing people of all cultures. I look at, as I traveled this city, Chicago is not a melting pot. Chicago is a mosaic, and each community is different. Each community has a different flavor, I'll call it, on who and what we are. And we should embrace all cultures to make this a global city.
How safe a city do you perceive Chicago to be right now?
Safe?
Yeah.
Well, as an alderman, I see things that many people don't see. I've been very fortunate to be elected to one of the most diverse ward in the country. And when I was elected, it was a high percentage of African American in the 70%. I was the first white person since 1915 when Oscar DePriest was elected the first black alderman in this city. When we have a city that has, as of today, there are over 2,500 shootings in this city. We have over 400 plus homicides. 300 and some of those are shooting deaths. We can make this city a safe city by making sure that we have opportunities and equality for all and jobs for all in all of our communities. When you hear those numbers it's way beyond how many people were shot last year. And the year's not over yet. Just 2 days ago, we had 17 people shot on a Wednesday. 4 of them resulted in homicides. They've been aggressive in terms of what we need to do. I've sponsored ordinance that dealt with our police board and made it much more transparent and accountable. I think that's what we need to do across the board. At the same time, our police officers have a very difficult job. They put their pants on, the men and women of our force, one leg at a time. But when they walk out the door, if there's a problem out there, other people run. They have to go to the place where it's at. Their morale is down right now. They're underpaid. They have a mayor attacking their pension benefits. And so we need to stand up for them when they do the right thing. If something happens, and we call, we're easy to criticize it, but at the same time, when an emergency's happening, we call 911 and we want them there immediately. It's a difficult job out there. I think part of the problem of I'll call it miscommunication, misunderstanding of what happens in our communities is because we have a lack of police out there. You know, if they were proactive rather than reactive and involve themselves in the community much more, we wouldn't be having these issues. You know, the cop on the corner, if he knows who he's dealing with and the folks, he can have a better understanding and a better relationship with the community. But because we don't have enough police, because we don't give them the support, it's led to a lot of distrust on whether it's valid or not, because some communities see it and some communities don't. And so we need to all work together and have a conversation on where we're going in this city.
What's your relationship been with the LGBT community in the past, and how would you reach out to them during the campaign and also if you were to become mayor?
Well, first of all, you know, I've dealt and been in contact with most of the groups. For a number of years, I lived at Addison and Lakeshore Drive. You know, you don't have to be active in a group to support a group. You know, I was one of the first aldermen to come out for marriage equality, even before the other aldermen in the city council who are from the community up there. I've always been a strong supporter of civil unions and marriage equality. And it goes back to friends that I had in high school. So it's how we promote equality across the board, that nobody should be discriminated against, period. What sometimes when we look at it, and I just mentioned, you know, at Addison and Lakeshore Drive, assuming that that's where the whole of the community is at. But quite frankly, it's all over the city. And so we need to encourage and contracts, people lifestyles to help folks across the board. And I know, I mean, like I said, from friends from high school and college, they're still there. They have long, solid relationships with their partners, and I'm proud to know them and proud to be at their ceremonies when they've been either a civil or marriage. And so across the board, I think my support for the community is been there from day one.
One part of the community that we've been trying to shed more light on at the paper is the transgender community. But have you done any work with them? Had any interaction with the members of the transgender community?
I have had some, and have I introduced any ordinances on it or anything along those lines? My answer is no. I mean, it's a community that needs assistance, help, and recognition here. And I think sometimes it's very troubling for young folks, and so we need to help encourage them across the board too.
Illinois and the city have strong anti-discrimination and anti-harassment laws on the books, but actual enforcement of those laws can be difficult. What can the mayor do to see that those are adequately enforced?
Well, I would hope that the mayor would be a front runner on that. And you know, I've said before that I want to be a different type of mayor. I want to have be out there and listen to the communities. I want to have ward nights in the communities and listen to the issues and try to resolve issues. And so if there is some concerns that are out there, then we need to deal with it. We should deal with it quite immediately. And I think as mayor, we will be very proactive on resolving issues that the people of this city have.
You mentioned before an issue of homelessness amongst young people when you were speaking about education. I think you said 18,000.
18,000, yes.
CPS students are homeless. And a disproportionate number of homeless youth are actually LGBT. How can the city address their needs?
Well, first of all, I think, we need to look at what we have done in terms of our closures of our schools and how we can assist those to make sure. And young folks, as you were just saying from the community, they need, not only do they need some safe place to lay their head to learn, but at the same time to help educate them, to help train them for jobs and entries into the job market, and for them not to be worried or afraid of who they are, what they are, or the fact that they think at a young age that they're a little bit different. We need to encourage them across the board.
What does the city need to do in order to curtail new HIV infections and see to it that those currently living with HIV/AIDS receive adequate support?
A lot. How's that? We need a hardcore educational program that we make the flash in the pans. Boom. One day it's here, and then hopefully we need constant, consistent sending the message, getting into our community and saying, hey, we've got to control this. And those that are infected, we will help you across the board today.
Just in terms of the campaign, as I'm sure you know, Mayor Emanuel has an enormous war chest to draw from in this election. He just got a great infusion of cash just recently. How are you ready to mount an effective campaign against him? What are you planning on doing?
Well, we're raising money. We're raising the right kind of money. I mean, you said enormous. I think it's obscene. It's absolutely obscene. He's got, he's going to keep right on raising money. He may hit 20 million before you know it. And, but he can use $2 million to reopen out of that campaign fund to reopen our mental health clinics that he closed and that we can't find people, and help those folks that need mental health in this city. He can help the police officers use in their campaign to raise $4 million. He can give that to help for their vests for all the police officers. He should be running on his record, not on the money.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, how much time do you have? No, you know what? The one thing about running for mayor in this city, it's a tremendous opportunity and experience. It's great to see every community. I was in Inglewood last night, and at a place that people came to the people that were with me and said, does the alderman know he's in Inglewood? Does he know that he's here? And yeah, I'm quite aware of it. I see, to see the people of this city and listen to them. I mean, they've got tremendous ideas.